Let's hit it straight off. What is failure and what is success? Is it a parameter decided by others for you, the world, the society, your friends, your neighbors, or is it a parameter decided by you? Let me tell you one thing in the beginning. Failure is your best friend, your BFF, as they call it. It's not the best teacher, because life is the best teacher. And failure is a major chapter that we all have to go through if we want to be something in life. Let me come back to my story now. From the very early on, I was a totally introverted kid. I never went up on a stage. I never participated in any sports. I was purely into academics. I excelled at those. I was a topper in my school and college days, but I never expressed myself the way I wanted to express myself. I just kept on doing whatever my parents, my friends, or my relatives asked me to do. Studied this much, take these courses up, do this, do that. And of course, I ended up getting a very good job. I always wanted to be a teacher, and that is where I resisted the outside forces. Everybody said, you are this brilliant chap, so much into academics, why don't you try the civil services? I said no, and that is the first time I took a stand for myself. I wanted to be a teacher. I started teaching and was very successful as a teacher. But then again, as luck would have it, I ended up in a situation where I let others decide everything for me. Right? Do this job, do this, eat like this, sit like this, laugh like this, or better, don't laugh at all. So all these things, I realized with time that my dreams have taken a backstage. I was just doing what the world expected me to do. And I ended up a sad figure doing all of that. So cutting a long story short, I failed in everything, in life, in my profession, in my personal relations. And by the time I hit 40, in my early 40s, I started slipping into this dark, bottomless pit that is called depression. It hit me so hard, and in the beginning, I wouldn't know that what is this? What is happening to me? Why are these mood swings happening? And why am I not happy and joyful in life? Why I always expect others to support me and pull me out of my bad moods? And so, of course, depression is, in the beginning, it's very difficult to understand that you are, and, to accept that you are suffering from depression. Because there's a lot of stigma in our country that is attached to depression. Everybody says, okay, pagal ho gaya hai, ya dimag pe ab kabu nahi raha, and all that, So you want to escape that, you bottle up inside, you don't talk about it to anyone. And that is what the most difficult part about depression is. You need to communicate, you need to understand, accept it yourself, and let others understand what you're going through. And when I started doing that, because I was suffering actually very badly, whatever life dealt me, whatever it gave me, I just could not reconcile with it. But then I started talking about it, and yes, that's not my mom, that is me. And these photographs were taken a little bit later in my life. I had gained so much of weight out of my eating disorder, and I belong to a Punjabi family, and har cheez mein, har khushi mein, har gam mein jo hai wo khana pina sabse upar hota tha. And I was, I ended up eating to destroy myself. I didn't want to live because I was so sick of life, I didn't understand what is happening to me, and therefore I would just go on incessantly eating. I was eating day and night and, polishing off everything that was lying in the home, and everybody got sick of this habit of mine. And I ended up growing up to around 135 kgs of weight, and that led to other major complications in my life, because obesity, having too much of weight to carry around you is again one of the, it leads to a lot of medical complications. So I was continuing like that for around 7 to 8 years, and then one fine morning, it so happened, it was February, I still remember, 2009. I wanted to get up from my bed, but I just could not. I would try and fall down. And see, this action of getting up and walking is what all of us take for granted. As human beings, आप में से कितने लोग ये सोचते होंगे कि आज मैं उठ पाऊंगा या चल पाऊंगा या नहीं. So we take it for granted. आप उठे, चले, and that is about it. But when I could not do that, it came as a huge, major shock to me. I was shocked. I kept on trying that morning, and it actually pulled the earth from under my feet, and I was so much troubled by this. I rang up all my relatives and told them, look, this is happening. I cannot get up from my bed. My head is reeling and I go on falling down. So it was discovered after the doctor did the investigation that I was suffering from something which is called vertigo. It is when your head starts reeling and there's loss of balance. This thing happened. This led to a further step ahead it went, and it led to a loss of motor functions. Now, a loss of motor functions is something, when your brain tells your body to walk, but the body cannot take that signal. So this was, the final nail in the coffin. This put me so much in depression that now I won't be able to walk, because doctors told me that this cannot be now rectified and you'll have to live with it. And there'll be medications and therapies and things like that. So this thought of being dependent on others and not being able to get up, because already life had dealt me a rough hand. It had given me such bad days which cannot be put into words. And now this thing also happened. I just cannot walk. I just cannot get up from my bed. There'll be attendants. And so everything, it put me in such a bad mood. So I thought, okay, chalo, let me commit suicide, because I'm dead even otherwise. Bed se laga hua hu, utha nahi ja raha, kuch kiya nahi ja raha. But that luckily failed, my attempt to end my life. And so this went on for another 5 years. So for a good period of, say, around 12 years, I was fighting with depression, obesity, vertigo, loss of motor functions, and continuing in this vegetative state. It led to a lot of skin disorders, and you know how people are when they are on their beds. But then, luckily, since I used to communicate a lot, I was living at that time with my sister and brother-in-law, and I always made sure to have their attention, roke ya kuch bhi karke or whatever, I was an attention seeker. So one fine morning, my brother-in-law, apparently he had had enough of all my dramas. He walked into my room and he told me that it's either now or never. You either pack your bags, go off, start living somewhere else, stop spoiling our lives. This they did consciously. He had planned this with my sister and did it very consciously. He wanted to jolt me out of that, sympathy wale zone mein, jisme main chala gaya tha. So when he left my room, I thought, okay, see, these people are like angels in my life. They've been supporting me through and through, and I'm letting them down by doing nothing, by accepting, okay, I'm a failure, main haar gaya, khatam ho gaya sab kuch and all that. So that morning, I decided that I am going to convert my failure somehow into a success. And I decided कि okay, मैं जो भी मुझे करना पड़ा, I will do in my power. And I just cannot describe it in words के अंदर से एक ऐसा frenzy overtook me, this deep desire to reclaim my life, my position in the society, what all I had lost. I had no job, I had no family, and I thought कि अब मुझे ये करके रहना है. I have to prove it to myself that I can reclaim my life. So I went on a holistic diet, because by that time I had understood that, okay, if I lose the weight, the doctors told me, if I lose the weight, then I'll lose my medical complications also. So I thought, chalo, let's give that a try. So I went on a holistic diet, and these pics that you see are of the time when I had already lost around 15 to 20 kgs. I started losing the weight, I started becoming mobile, and I started reclaiming my life. In the sense, like, okay, weight loss was not a tough thing to do. It came very easily to me, because I controlled my, food intake, and fitness is directly related to the food that you eat, and it's only 20% the activity that you do. But the majorly different part was my trying to relearn how to walk. I had no motor functions, and it was actually a very tough thing. So I would put myself to test every day. Okay, यहाँ से वहाँ तक अगर मैं चल लूँगा, then आज का दिन मेरा अच्छा निकलेगा. And I kept on creating these situations for myself to put me to that test. कि चलो आज गाड़ी कहीं पे खड़ी कर दी और थोड़ा चल के I'll go to the market, and so I refused to let this feeling overtake me that okay, you will not be able to, because I had started believing, and trust me, this is the worst feeling that you can have. मुझे लगने लग गया था कि अब मैं जीवन भर कभी चल नहीं पाऊंगा. And this thing that I'll be able to walk was a huge success to me. And of course, this started happening because I was इतनी जिद में था मैं कि okay, I have to walk. And then the weight loss was happening. I used to go to a physiotherapist to relearn how to walk. This guy's father was connected with a modeling agency in Delhi, and he suggested, okay, you've started looking like this, you've lost the weight, you've become mobile, why don't you try modeling? And I said, what? What are you talking? Because I was a government servant earlier. I had this, I'd never thought that somebody at the age of 56 or 57 could try modeling. But he insisted, and he sent my photographs to his father, and then I got a call from the agency. And again, I didn't want to go for the audition and all, but then my family said, you have to, because you have to try this now. Don't just sit at home. Don't just roam around the malls and do a lot of shopping, because that is what I was majorly doing at that time. So I went to this agency in Delhi for my audition. As I walked into the hall, I saw all these, teenagers, 17 से 25 साल की एज के बीच में, these tall chaps and tall, good-looking, beautiful girls. And I thought, मैं यहाँ पे क्या कर रहा हूँ? Look at me. I was 57 at that time. And, I almost gave up. But then the agency, apparently they must have seen something in me. They said, no, you have to go for the audition at least. So, जब मैं audition के लिए अंदर गया, I saw these 5-6 people sitting on monitors, and there were cameras all over. And, I again lost it. I said, no, I just cannot, because he was somebody who was so introvertish, and people were trying to put him in the spotlight. But trust me, when I stood at the mark that was there for me, and a light was shown on me for the audition, as I looked up at the light, I thought, okay, this is a signal from God that try this time. This is what you are meant to do. And the audition went off very well. I'm so sorry. Please bear with me, because I just cannot, recount these things without getting emotional. And of course, they selected me. So this is the first major. This was my first major campaign that happened on my birthday on 16th January 2016. And I don't know how this happened, how I realized that I was, born to be in front of the cameras on the ramp. And it took me a long, long time to reach this place. अगर मैं पहले हार जाता एंड जैसे मैंने सुसाइड करने की भी कोशिश की और गिव अप कर देता तो आई वुड नॉट हैव बीन here today, here and here, addressing all of you people. And as I started walking the ramp, so this is my first major fashion show. And I kept on discovering myself. I kept on challenging my limits, and I've been asked to do certain very, another important thing that I want to talk about is, when I started modeling, I had colored my hair, I had these dark hair and all that. But very soon I realized that I have to be myself, in this industry, because the kind of profiles that were being offered to me, I didn't like them. Dadaji ban ke, haath mein mala leke idhar baith jao, cry, and those family kind of things, which I didn't somehow like. I had this swag about myself, and I wanted कि चलो मैं इसको utilize करूँ. The first thing that came to my mind is that be yourself. So I stopped coloring my hair, which was a huge, challenge at that time, because every actor in my age group, they didn't have beards and they had dark hair. So the industry was shocked that, okay, here is this guy who has this courage to have gray hair and a gray beard and call himself a model. But then, of course, it's a very nice thing when your name is put in history as the first gray model of India to have. So the thing that everybody told me, ye mat karo, nahi to haar jaoge, that became my trump card, because I started listening to my inner voice. So I've done movies, as all of you know. I'm busy almost every day now for the last 6 years, trying to do my bit in living life to its fullest. And that is what I would like to suggest to all of you. Parameters पे खुद को डालना छोड़ दो, दूसरों को मत डिसाइड करने दो कि सक्सेस और फेलियर क्या है. अपने पैरामीटर्स को खुद डिसाइड करो, and in the process, just be joyful and live life to its fullest. Right? Age shaming is there. People still tell me, बुड्ढा है, पागल है, इसके कपड़े देखो, इतने tattoos करा रखे हैं. Everybody judges me. But I just want to ask you one thing. जब उम्र की आवारा बारिश सब रंग मेरे धो जाए, तब भी तू मेरे संग रहना. God bless you.